Hi golfers, Nick here from DTL Golf. It's Friday, so welcome to another lesson on golf tips. As you can see in the background, we've got Charlie Wee. Last week, you may have seen my video. If you haven't, check it out, because we looked at Charlie Wee's swing from face on. So we used Charlie Wee as one of the models for the stack and tilt golf swing. So today I'm going to go through the 10 positions and what I'd like to see in the stack and tilt golf swing to help with your golf swing and to see what areas you may need to improve on, but also give you a bit of background knowledge to the P system which we use to measure the golf swing. So before we go through the 10 positions to break down Charlie's swing, you can see here he's hitting an iron, but just take a look at first of all his head movement here. So if you imagine there was a wall there, you can see his head stays against that wall pretty much all the way through the golf swing and into the finish. So he's not moving away from that wall. Some people would say he's staying in his spine angle. Technically that's not correct. He's actually staying in his inclination to the ground. I've talked about this a fair bit. If you were staying in your spine angle, the spine would stay flexed over like so. That would be staying in your spine angle. I've talked about this loads of times, you may have seen it in other videos, but he's staying in his inclination to the ground, which is a key defining movement pattern of the stack and tilt golf swing. So you can see here, I've played his swing out a few times. It's giving you a bit of a look to see what he does in his golf swing. So now we're going to sort of break it down into those 10 positions which we looked at last week from face on. Okay, so we're going to take a look at face on here. I'm just going to put a few lines in just to give you a bit of an idea. So this is position 1, P1 at setup. Now take a look at his eye line and his head. See how he's tilted over, looking straight down at that golf ball. Now, one of the key things is when you look set up to that golf ball, you want your eyes, or the centre of your vision, looking straight down at the golf ball. I see so many golfers with their head up and they're looking at the ball out the bottom of their eyes. You need to be looking out the centre of your vision as you set up. That's going to help keep your balance, your awareness, keep your head steady throughout the golf swing. If you're looking at the ball at the bottom of your eyes, you're going to struggle to see it and you're going to probably move about in the golf swing. So key move there, you can see his cap tilted down. Notice how if you look at his posture here, so if you take a look at his posture here, so lower back's pretty straight, but you see a slight curve here. So a lot of golfers would see that as a bad thing or bad posture, but actually that's quite key. To help see the ball at the centre of his eyes, he needs to have that bend at the top of his neck there to see the golf ball. Now, really key. Notice his hips on the angle as well. Now, we're going to look at his swing in a second in the different positions, but notice here, his arms just hanging straight down. Notice you can just see his right leg only at this stage, so we're going to reference that point as we go along through the swing. Okay, so just going to run through the quick P positions in Charlie's swing, and then we're going to break it down at the end just with some lines just to give you a bit of an idea. So first of all, if we take a look what happens from position 1 to position 2. So position 2, as we talked about last week, is when the shaft is parallel to the ground there. So a second ago I mentioned about the knees. You could only see his right leg. Now you can start to see as he's taken the club backwards here, the left shoulder's moved down, the knee flexed has started to change. Now you can see his left knee, which you couldn't see at setup. So that's his knee flex changing, his shoulder moving down, his hands moving inwards. And I'll show you what I mean by that. That's quite a key move. So I'm just going to put a reference point on his hands there. Now watch as he takes the club back. His hands have moved inwards. So many times I see golfers, their hands move straight back or even outwards sometimes from P1 to P2. Now to keep the swing moving around in a circle, to keep it on the arc, I've talked about the grid a lot, and for those of you who don't know about the grid, maybe check out some of my videos, but the grid references the hand path and the club path moving around the body in a circle. So you can see the lines there, I've just drawn those lines in. So you've got a path for the club head, moving around in an arc, and you've got a path for the hands moving around the arc. I've done plenty of videos on this, talking about this in detail. So you would expect, as the swing comes back, the hands to move inwards, not straight back or out. So they should move in, and the club should move in at the same rate. So then when you get to P2, take it back to P2. You can see here, at P2, the club head and the hands are lined up. Now, really key position. You see so many golfers with the hands go out, club come in. See that day in, day out. So awesome move here in the backswing. Hands moving in, club moving in, shoulder moving down, knee flex changing to get to P2. So we're going to move the swing on now. Go to P3. So P3 is when the left arm is parallel to the ground. So this is position 3. So I've just left that grid up there. Now, really key position. What you'll see here, again, you'll see more of the left knee. The shoulders continue to move down. Now the left arm is now across the chest here. So as he swung back, his left arm has moved in. It's not out in front of him, or even out here somewhere. It's moved in roughly 20 degrees in from his stance line, maybe a little bit more at that point. That's position 3, P3. Just, I'm going to go back to P2 here. Now, from P2 to P3, you'll see his hands sort of passing his belt. So, roughly passing his belt somewhere here. Now, that's a really good checkpoint. If you check your golf swing, see where your hands are passing the silhouette of your body. You can see he's passing around about the belt. That's really important. That shows the hands have moved in on the arc correctly. Now, I see a lot of golfers that their hands will pass sort of somewhere up here, almost like mid-chest, sometimes even higher. So check where your hands are passing the body, should be around the belt, and that happens between P2 and P3. Now, another key point, so this is sort of about 3.5 here. So we talk about the 10 positions, but we will reference stages in between them as well. So for example, P3.5 here, between left arm parallel on the top of the backstroke. Now what you'll see is his hands are sort of passing about there somewhere. So probably about mid bicep roughly. You can see where his hands are sort of passing his body there on the backstroke. So that's another sort of key position. Now we've reached the top here. So this is position 4, P4. So what you'll see at position 4, again this is with an iron, so you may see a longer swing with a driver. At position 4 here, you can see his shoulders move downwards. Now that's really important. So as he's got to the top, his shoulders have turned at a right angle to the mount he was tilted over at address. So that's helped him keep his inclination to the ground. Now you can see the back leg straighten a fair bit. The longer the swing, the more that would straighten. So for a driver, that would straighten a little bit more. You can see the left knee quite clearly there. Hips have turned on a tilted angle. They haven't turned level to the ground, they've turned on an angle. Really important. Notice there's no lift of the arms. So as he's got to the top there, his left arm's pretty much on the line of his shoulders. So there's no lift as he's gone back. Notice again, eye line down towards the ball. You can see that from his cap at that position there. So that's P4 position. I'm going to just reference a point here. So I'm just going to put a line on his hands there. We're going to look at that towards the end of the swing. Now, what happens from P4 to P5? Now, as he starts down, so P5 is when the left arm is parallel to the ground in the downswing. Now, what you can see here is his knee flex has pretty much almost gone back to where it was at address, but just about see that left knee. You can see he's kept his inclination to the ground, so he's rotated his hips as he started down. And notice again, the left arm still inwards at that point. I see a lot of golfers as they start down, the arm starts to come out here, almost like they're turning too much. We looked at this from face on, how Charlie, as he goes through, not only does he turn his lower body here and his shoulders, he's actually moving his hips forward. Yeah, so he's moving his weight forward as he starts down. That's really key. Now we're going to look at this in a second as we go down, but just have a look at his right foot there as we move his swing on. So hips pretty much, or his knee flex pretty much back to where it was at setup. Now, just as we start down, so we're getting into sort of 5.5 here somewhere. So good reference point this. So roughly at P5, you'll see the shaft pretty much going down the forearm. Again, now you can't see his left knee. So basically his lower body's back into where it was at address. Shoulders still closed. Now, watch his right foot, he's starting to bank in, he's starting to push his weight forward, and that's really key. It's so important to help keep this hand path and the club path on the arc. Really important to keep pushing that weight through. If you just turn from the top, you're going to swing over the top and cause pulls and slices. That's 5.5. So just moving on now to 6. Okay, so it's 6 here. So 6 is when the shaft's parallel in the down straight. You see club in line with the hands, really key position. See a lot of times the club out here, outside of the hand, so check that position in your golf swing. If the club's out here, that club's going to move across the golf ball from out to in. You can see his right foot here starting to lift as he's pushing his weight through. Now his hips have turned here. They've probably rotated 10-20 degrees as he's gone through. Shoulders slightly closed at this point. Notice his left arm's pretty much straight down. He's keeping his inclination to the ground. Really key position this, P6. So just moving on into impact here. Look at his right foot there. You can see it's pushing his weight through. His hips are rotating. We know from the face-on view he's actually moving his weight, lower body towards the target. Really key. Now you can see the club moving into the ball from the inside. So just looking at position 7, P7 here, impact. Obviously the most important part of the golf swing. We looked at this from face-on last week. Hips are turning, right foot's banking in, he's moving his weight through. As his shoulders are probably just slightly, they're pretty square, maybe slightly open at this point. He's kept his inclination to the ground. Notice there's still an angle here of his wrist. So I see a lot of golfers, they come through almost raising the handle, and that causes a lot of inconsistencies controlling the club face as you go through. So really good position there, P7, impact. Just going to move his swing through a couple of times here. Now notice how, see his club moving right down that white line that I drew at address, and now his hands are moving inwards as well. So as he moves from 7 to 7.5 here, see how his hands are moving. They're moving in this way. Club's moving in that way, hands are moving that way. He keeps the club and the hands moving around in that arc through the golf swing. So you can see the hands are just sort of disappearing at sort of 7.5, almost moving towards 8. Look at his back foot here. He's pushing his weight through, really key position. Head staying very steady. So he's moving round the arc here. So we get to this position here. So this position here is, you can't see the shaft here, but this is pretty much when the shaft is parallel in the follow through. So this is P8. See the shoulder turn? So he's turning his shoulders at a right angle to the mount he was tilted over at address. Hands have moved in on the arc, the club's moved in on the arc. Still see the head down towards the ball. He's staying on the wall as we talked about. His right foot's pushed forward. He's rotated and pushed his weight through at this point to help keep that club on the arc as he goes through. So this is position 8. It's going to be very similar to position 9 as he goes through. So position 9 is when the right arm would be parallel to the ground in the follow through, somewhere there. Now just notice, you see his hands and the club just appearing here. So this would be just after probably position 9. You can see his hands and his club pretty much appearing on that white line which I drew at the top of his back stroke. So let's put it here. So this is just after P9, just after his right arm's parallel to the ground, and you'll see his hands and the club just appearing here. Now I drew that line at P4 at the top of the backswing, so his hands and his club are appearing in the same position. So that's his swing. as he swing, moving around in an arc, moving around his body in an arc here. Yeah, his hands aren't lifting above it. He's keeping the golf swing in a circle. So the top of the backstroke, the exit on the follow through as the hands leave the body here, you can see pretty much on that line. So that's the swing moving around in a circle. Kept his inclination beautifully to the ground there. Moved his weight through, continued turning as well. So as we move on, like I said, that white bang right on that white line. So moving on to this would be position 10 at the end of the swing here. Again, you can see his head's now turned towards the target. So as he's gone through, really important, as he's gone through, he's turned his head. He's turned his head like this, but he hasn't pulled it up from the wall. He hasn't come up like this as he's gone through. He's kept it on the inclination to the ground as he's gone through. You can see hardly any weight on that back foot. So check these positions in your golf swing. Make sure you move that weight through as you go through. So beautiful golf swing there from Charlie Wee. Okay, so I've gone through those 10 positions there with Charlie Wee. I'm going to leave that grid up on the screen, but I'm just going to draw a few more lines just to show you a couple of things here. So draw a line on his belt. Line, centre of the hips, centre of the shoulders. That forms the inclination to the ground. Now, if I draw a line here, 90 degrees to his spine angle at address there, pretty much there. So that's his hip tilt. This is a line which is 90 degrees to his spine angle at address. I've connected the centre of the hips to the centre of the shoulders there. Now just watch this yellow line at the top for his shoulders. You can see here, he's turned his shoulders on that yellow line, which I was saying, you want to turn your shoulders at a right angle to the mount tilted over. So that's the left shoulder moving down in the backstroke. Really important to help keep that swing moving around on the arc. So the shoulder moving down, his body's extending, tilting and turning in the backswing here. Just notice one more thing as well. The turn of the belt. Yeah, he's kept his hip tilt, which he had at setup. Again, another key move to keep your inclination. You don't stand your spine angle, you keep your inclination to the ground. So you turn the shoulders on the right angle to your spine angle, and you're turning the hips on the same angle as they were at address. Now as we exit here, again you'll see pretty much the shoulder turn 90 degrees to his spine angle at address, and that's how Charlie Wee keeps his inclination to the ground. That's how he keeps his head against the wall, as I referenced earlier. So really important, check these things, make sure you're not popping out of your posture or your inclination to the ground. So some really important positions there. So make sure your shoulders are turned at a right angle to the mount you're tilted over at address. These things are going to help you keep your head steady. It's going to help with a centered turn. It's going to help with your consistency. It's going to help keep that swing moving around in a circle, help keep your inclination to the ground. All key moves in a stack and tilt golf swing. So there's the 10 positions there. Hopefully that's helped some of you. I had some requests. They want to see the down the line video. Obviously I did face on from last week. So if you've not seen that, please check that out. But in the meantime guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you don't already, please subscribe to my other social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.
My bed.